first and foremost, I'm running for council on a personal note because I've always wanted to be involved some way or another as in politics. I'm not a politician by any means. So this is a little bit of a paradigm shift for me at the end of the day, but I like the idea that it's a nonpartisan position. So it's about the people. It's not about me or what I can do for myself. But probably my biggest reason for running is my property taxes. Not mine, the community's property taxes. Lived here it'll be 4 years come October, the very first day of October, and I've already seen 2 property tax hikes. And I want to make sure that I want to see what happens with that money. I want to see where they're doling out our tax money. At the end of the day, utilities are the core fabric of a society, and if you want to grow, you got to make sure that those core services are being covered. When you pull out of your driveway every day and you see a street that might not be it's been worked on before, but hasn't really been put back together quite right, you kind of wonder sometimes maybe where your property taxes are going. And that kind of ties into the infrastructure. Obviously, the taxes cover the infrastructure. There's a fair amount of brownouts that we have in our neighborhoods, and I'm kind of concerned about that. So are my taxes going to that area? If not, where are they going? So that infrastructure portion of it is pretty big with me too. And those two both point to the illustrious data center. So at the end of the day, you've got this data center that's being proposed, and I believe after last meeting, they were talking about how the data center's been kind of pushed off, sort of a moratorium until the end of, I believe it's the end of March or April of 2027, because they want a more comprehensive reporting done on it, and I'm for that. One thing you're going to get from me as a city council member is questions. I'm not going to be your social media guru and say, oh, yeah, well, they told me on Facebook that data centers are bad for you, when I don't know necessarily if they're bad for you. So until I have 2 or 3 people for the pro side and 2 or 3 people from the con side, and I can put them all together, and I've asked them my 5,725 questions, then I can make an educated decision from that point on. So back to that infrastructure, if we're having brownouts now, what's it going to happen when we have something that apparently is going to need that much more energy in order to roll? So that's kind of that's why I'm running.
I'm running for city council because, first of all, I was asked to run by friends of mine who felt like they were ready for a change in the city council. So I said, yes, I'm not like a politician or have aspirations for this beyond city council. But I love the city of Faribault. I loved every minute of being here, and I want to make it better if possible. Try to make good decisions for the city. And I think I have a unique perspective living downtown with my family. Some of my issues that are important to me, first of all, I believe that the 2040 vision is already an excellent plan set in place. But I think there's been at least some failure of communication about the plan, and maybe about issues in infrastructure, what is being addressed when. So maybe somebody says, well, all of our roads are terrible, and I don't see repairs being done. We want people to know that the city knows that there's a problem, and here's what we're working on now. Maybe it's replacing the lead pipes, and then we're going to be doing the roads, or these are the roads we're doing this year. So I think communication is super important. And then as far as toward the vision, the 2040 vision, I think that just communicating, these are the steps we're doing this year. Because, when the plan happens, then years later, people forget about, where are we at with that plan and what's next? just the forward-thinking vision is really important. Along with communication, I believe in financial transparency because I really think it's important when we're dealing with other people's money, how that is being spent and where it's being spent. My second major thing that's in my heart too, I won't say it that way. Sorry, Troy.
We'll start second thing over again.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
The second issue that's important to me is the improvement of the downtown and the supporting riverfront parks. I would like to see more events held in the downtown and riverfront parks which will support that downtown central community as more of a place of gathering. I want to make Faribault a safe, connected community, a community that, although we're very diverse, is united, and it's a place for families to thrive and a place that people want to raise their children and stay.
My first major topic is protecting Faribault from big tech. There's a large concern among community members about the harmful health and environmental effects of data centers. I don't think that people currently feel like their voices are being heard, and I personally share a lot of those concerns, so I want to be a voice for the people of Faribault as someone who shares those same values. I'm also interested in advocating for those who are concerned about the implementation of flock cameras and tracking and recording citizens. So as a counselor, I would be appropriately critical of these policies that support surveillance, implementation, as well as data centers. My second major topic is affordable living. Every aspect of life is continuing to get more expensive, while income does not match that. As a city councilor, I would prioritize initiatives to reduce the financial burden that exists for everyday people. I know for me it's getting exhausting trying to time out when I can fix my basement so it doesn't flood, when I can fix my car's AC, when I can take my cat into the vet for a checkup, and to make sure I can afford all of it. I know many people share this increasing financial burden, and I think I can represent one of us in Faribault who are one major medical issue, one house catastrophe, one unexpected life event away from bankruptcy.
I'm running for Faribault City Council because every decision our city leadership makes directly affects our community's health. We need leaders who will view important decisions through a community well-being lens. With 30 years of experience in public health and healthcare leadership, a network of strong partnerships across Faribault, and a proven track record of results, I'm ready to bring an immediate positive impact to our city council. My top two priorities are first, protecting and strengthening our healthcare system, working proactively with local healthcare providers, public health, insurance plans, and other key stakeholders to ensure we retain and grow access to quality, affordable care for every stage of life. Second, strengthening trust and confidence in our city government. City leadership and our residents must come together if we want to move Faribault forward. Faribault has a strong foundation and vision for the future. I've reviewed our city's plans, and I believe our greatest opportunity is to connect them into one clear, measurable roadmap that residents can understand, follow, and help shape. Thank you.
As someone who's called Faribault home my entire life, I wanted to run for city council because I believe that Faribault deserves leaders who are open to new ideas, who listen to residents, and who make choices for the betterment of the community as a whole. So my main focuses are to support local business and local families, increase transparency in our local government, and collaborate amongst the business sectors of our government as much as possible with residents in the town.
I think many people who may see this probably have met me for one reason, and that is primarily concerns around the data center that's opened in Faribault. This is a highly controversial issue. I'm leading the petition charge for this item to get a potential ordinance passed or a ballot measure to pass an ordinance that would place a one-year moratorium on the data center during which time there would be reporting requirements from the city in order to identify not just environmental impacts from this center, but also the economic impacts from it. I think we're seeing these throughout the state, right? And I hate to say it this way, but Faribault isn't special in its offer to have a data center built in it. We are just an opportunity for that data center who is getting potentially 35 years of sales tax abatements from the state, as well as the opportunity to build onto a local grid that is going to be sustained by Steel Waseca Co-op, but is ultimately going to potentially lead to damages within our community unless we can confirm that information and get the questions answered. And so far, I think anyone who's attended city council meetings or asked questions has been met with the same responses in regards to the data center, which is, we don't know yet, we don't know how it's going to be built, and we don't know when it's going to be finished. That kind of leads me to part two of the same question, but my second main topic, which is that sustainable growth initiative. Faribault has been really lucky when it comes to the other businesses in our communities providing input back into the community when it comes to making sure that we can meet skilled labor job requirements, that we have the right training and necessities through education available. Many of our local businesses do things like participate with our local community college to offer programs and training for that. And I want to see continued growth in that way. I don't want to see a stop to business growth and development. I want to see a growth that means jobs for people, growth that means opportunities for education for individuals to get skills and practices that they can use every single day to give a good, vibrant future for themselves. And really just to make sure that the community is growing in a way that people actually want and, as frankly, allows us to continue to live here, which is why I'm, again, concerned about the data center, but wanting to, frankly, just get more investigation into the actual impact, which at this point does not seem it has been done. And even with the upcoming review or secondary review of its environmental assessment worksheet, I do not believe it's going to give us the answers necessary for us to confidently say it should be here.
Yeah, so I'm running for city council. Really, there are two big issues facing the city. One, we have the data center, which I think everybody has an opinion on. And then also just fiscal responsibility from the city council. And I know both of those are pretty vague, so I want to expand on those a little bit. So the data center, this is an unprecedented project for our city. Certainly this AI explosion has been faster than anybody could have anticipated. Our regulations are not designed for a project like this. And I think we need to be proactive. You know, certainly I appreciate the efforts of those on the city council to put a moratorium in place. And I know they're voting tonight, as we sit here, it's July 14th, they're voting tonight to postpone the need for a full environmental impact survey. They're giving Archer data centers more time to really provide some information. But I think we need to be proactive and put some regulations in place that are going to protect our resources and protect our city. So I'm working on that now, putting together ideas for what would I do in the city council if I'm elected. And then that fiscal responsibility piece, I just want to give an example. So the Viaduct Park, the original budget for that project was $500,000. And that, we're in phase 2 now, and the total spend on that is going to be over $11 million. To put those numbers in perspective, if I'm going to go out and buy a car and my budget is $5,000, and I go to the dealership and I let them talk me into a car that's, say, $60,000, but then with add-ons on top of that, now all of a sudden I'm spending $116,000 on this car when my budget was $5,000. And so now all of a sudden I've taken money that I was putting away for other projects like repairing my roof, and I've taken on a lot of debt, and I'm making those payments, but my roof is leaking. And so really it's things like that. We can't let these projects get out of control from a monetary perspective. We have to be smart with our money.
I'm seeking another term on City Council because I enjoy working on solving complex problems, and I felt it gives me purpose. I bring technical expertise and institutional knowledge to the job. My top two issues are as follows: reining in wasteful spending and concerns around data centers. Data centers are complex because there's not a lot of legal pathways to hold them accountable, and we have to work with the legislature to address these concerns. Another issue that I've identified that people are concerned about is the introduction of flock cameras nationwide, including in our community.
So I am running for Faribault City Council because Faribault is where my husband and I chose to make our home. This is where we wanted to plant our roots and raise our family. We want to make sure that we're making good decisions for all people who live in Faribault now and in the future. I'm at a point in my career where I think that I have the knowledge, experience, and leadership skills to really give back to our community in a meaningful way. One of the issues that I'm hearing most about as I'm talking to voters is the data centers. People are really concerned about them and what it means for our community's health, our infrastructure, as well as our natural resources. Based on the information that's available today, I don't see how we could approve this at this time. There's just too many unanswered questions. The second issue that is on everybody's mind is housing. We simply just don't have enough. We need rental opportunities, but we also need attainable paths forward for people to afford housing based on their budgets. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading as you're building your family, or as you're downsizing into retirement, we need all different types of housing at all different price points. To me, both of these issues come down to planning for our future. We need to make sure that we're listening to our residents and that we're building the things that they need and want to see.